I'm Russell Acord with Expedition Bigfoot. Right now, you're listening to Paranormal Portal. Thanks for joining us, and our guest host is Brent and Jackwagon.
We got a special show lined up for you today, and this is a gentleman that I've been familiar with for a long time, and he really knows his stuff, and that's what first impressed me. Of course, I'm speaking of Ryan Paul Tremblay, who is an artist and cryptozoologist, and he is one part of the team of Monster Radio on YouTube, and he's coming today to talk about some Dogman with us. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got an epic show ahead, but just remember, if any of you have experiences you'd like to share, I'd love to hear from you. You can either email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com or head over to paranormalportal.net. Scroll down and find the button that says Interview Me, and that'll allow you to look at a calendar of possible times and dates and find a date that works for you. Love to hear your stories, so definitely get in touch with me. Hey Ryan, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey Brent, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for coming on and being a part of this.
My pleasure.
I had been reading your posts for a long time, and then I finally started chiming in on some of them too, and you and I started talking, and it was like, man, this guy's got to come on the show. And so I'm really glad that you chose to be here and to do this, because I think, when it comes to topics, and you speak a lot of Dogman, about the Nudlush skinwalkers, and about the Wendigo, and those are all topics. I hope that you'll come back and do individual shows on all of those, but of course they're kind of tough categories to research, I think. And I'm curious, so for like Dogman, for instance, I think probably, as you and I were talking before, there isn't a whole lot of information out there, but there's a whole lot of encounters, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard to find any accurate information. You can read Linda Godfrey's books. That's your best source. But really, like I keep telling everybody, anything that we think we know, it's all opinion, theory, conjecture. We don't know at this point. It's all a big mystery. So nobody, not even myself, can say it's all fact.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible stuff, though. But there's so many, when you talk about Dogman, it's never just a straightforward discussion, because there's lots of elements in these Dogman encounters that are pretty dynamic. And it makes me wonder, is this a physical thing? Is this a spiritual thing? Is it something else? I mean, what is it we're dealing with, in your opinion?
I used to be on the team flesh and blood all the way. I'd be like, oh, they're a type of animal we haven't found. But after talking to numerous people, I don't believe they're just typical flesh and blood. I think it's interdimensional.
Okay.
Or ultra-terrestrial, if you will. Maybe like some kind of, I want to say alien in a way, but not outer space alien. It's alien to us that come over into our dimension. And I think that's why we don't find bodies. We don't really find any scat. We don't find blood or anything like that, because they're not from here.
Right. Okay. Well, that's a great take too, because I'll tell you, that we oftentimes, you'll hear the argument from the scientific community about a lot of this. It's like, well, there's no evidence of that in the fossil record. And it's like the fossil record is this finished compendium of absolute knowledge. And it certainly isn't, but it's this evolving body of work that keeps expanding all the time. However, for things like Sasquatch, there is plenty of argument that, look, we found fossilized evidence of other pre-humans or hominids that may very well be the offshoot or ancestry of these things. So, but with canid humanoid figures, there doesn't seem to be anything that we have available through the fossil record, other than hieroglyphs and things like that may show this. But would you agree that this is certainly something? Doesn't that weigh in with what you're saying pretty well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because we have to acknowledge science itself is incomplete. We don't have all the answers yet. We need to come up with new methods, new formulas to complete that science. So we just don't have it yet. But you're right, though. There's no fossil record for Dogman at all. We can look at dire wolves. We can look at prehistoric hyenas. But do they belong in the same category? Probably not. I mean, they weren't bipedal. We're dealing with a dogman, a canine that is bipedal. People see it walking on two legs. So can we compare, prehistoric hyenas with dogman? I don't think we can. I think we need more science and need to know more about dogman itself before we could say it's possible it comes from this species.
Oh, yeah. Good take. And I think that's a very well formulated response, because you're not saying no or yes. You're just saying, hey, we just don't have all of the factors here. And I think that's
it's a shot in the dark, for anybody to sit up there and say, this is what dogman is for 100% certain. It's a shot in the dark. You don't know if you're right. You don't know if you're wrong. You can't say it's 100% certain. Nobody can.
Right.
So you got to play it careful. You got to research. You got to look into stuff and look for other venues. You do. You have to look for other venues and stop believing in just one little box. Come on.
Yeah, I think that's powerful. And you also have experience personally with this phenomena, yeah?
Yes. I did encounter a dogman about 3 years ago here in southern Arizona.
Wow.
And that's actually what sparked my interest in the dogman phenomena.
Okay.
Originally, I was hearing these dogman reports. I was kind of going, werewolf, maybe. It makes for a good horror movie, but I don't think it's real. It's a Bigfoot and Chupacabra, the typical things that all us cryptid kids grow up with.
Right.
But one day, my friend, he and his wife, they were going away on vacation, and they asked me, can you house it? And I said, absolutely, I'll house it for you and do whatever. So I used to do morning checkups at the house, where I'd go to the house in the morning, I'd go in the afternoon, then I'd go at midnight just to make sure everything was locked up and safe. Well, one October night, I went at midnight, and I was walking up because he has a long driveway. Mm. And I could hear the coyotes. The coyotes in the distance, they sounded like they were panicked. They were nervous. They weren't normal coyote howls. And I'm just like, well, maybe they're hunting, because when they hunt, they sound different. Or maybe there's something out there they don't like a mountain lion or whatever. So no big deal for me. But as I'm walking into the back, I catch whiff of this odor. It was just so gross. It brought tears to my eyes.
Oh.
And my nose just started twitching from it. And I'm like, God, did something die? Oh. And so I just, I kept pressing forward to go check the house, like I said I was going to do. And I heard something moving. Okay. I could hear heavy footsteps. Mm-hmm. And I thought maybe it was a vagrant, because, we have riverbeds here in Arizona, and the homeless guys like to stay down there.
Sure.
So I thought maybe there was a homeless guy trying to come up to the property. And me being only 5'9", I'm not a big guy. I try to do the pufferfish thing where I puff out my chest and I'm all, hey. And at first there's nothing, but then it goes silent for a moment. Then I hear the footsteps again. And so again, I pull the pufferfish routine, and hey. This time I hear a growl, and it was a very, very deep growl, Brent. I could feel it vibrate in my chest. So, I'm thinking, oh my God, is there a bear back here or something? Am I going to walk into some kind of bear attack? Yeah. But I kept going. And as I'm going into the back, I catch something in silhouette. Now, at night, when you see something in silhouette, your eyes play tricks on you. Okay. So you're not sure if you're seeing a human or an animal. And I'm like, okay, well, someone's back here. So I'm going to go and check on this. And as I get right into the back, I see this thing stop and the security lights kick on. And when those lights came on, Brent, the light reflected from the light. There's an amber glow. And there's this thing standing there that looked like a hyena. Okay, so, I pause and I'm going, am I looking at a hyena? What is this? And it sees me. And at the minute it sees me, it stands up on two legs. Oh. And I hear the loud pop. And I heard, from different dogman encounters, there's a very loud pop every time they stand up.
Right.
So here I am, finally my brain just shuts down, man. I'm not moving. I'm not running. I'm not screaming. I'm not making any noise. I'm afraid to breathe at this point. Yeah. And this thing's just staring at me for a moment, drops back down to all fours, and it rushes forward about 3 feet. Now, I didn't move. Again, I'm rooted in place, Brent. I'm not running. I'm just like, I don't know what you are, and I'm just not going to run away from you.
Right.
So it stops, and it stands back up again. Wow. And it's staring at me right in my eyes. So I know when you're dealing with a predator, last thing you do, stare it in the eyes. So I'm trying to deviate my gaze away from it, kind of like, don't stare it in the eyes, but keep it in your view. Mm-hmm. So I can see it. It's looking at me, and its ears are going up and down, and its head is tilting side to side. So I'm not moving. I'm not making any foolish moves. This thing finally starts to back off. And I can hear the footsteps just doom, 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 as it's walking away. and I see it just go down the hill. The minute it's out of sight, Brent, I got rockets in my butt, man. I'm going up the stairs to my friend's house. I'm in his door. I'm locking all his doors, bolting his windows. I'm pulling open his drawers looking for a knife.
Right.
I call my friend on the phone and I'm like, yo, man, what did you do? There's a hyena in your backyard. And he was like, no, Ryan, there's no hyenas in Arizona. You know this. And I'm going, no. I saw a hyena. There was a hyena back there. Don't tell me I didn't see this. I saw this. So he and his wife come home. Next morning, we went out there, and sure enough, Brent, where that thing was standing, you can see the claw marks.
Oh. Wow.
So there was something there. And that's when I realized, oh my God, this Dogman phenomena, there's something to this. And now I have to get personally involved because I need the answers.
Right.
And that's what started me on this path for Dogman.
How tall would you suppose it was when it was standing up? Do you have a guess?
I'd say about 6 feet because it was a lot taller than I was.
Okay.
And it wasn't muscular. It wasn't overly muscular like some of the reports you hear where it has like the Lou Ferrigno build.
Yeah.
I'd say it was more in line with a basketball player.
Okay. Yeah.
So it wasn't overly buff. It wasn't overly huge in height or anything, but it was big. It was bigger than me.
Okay.
And we actually gauged from where I was standing to where it was standing. It was only 15 feet away.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So if that thing wanted to get me, it could have gotten me at any moment.
Yeah. Wow.
There's no way I could have gotten away from that thing at 15 feet. No way.
Oh, jeez.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of ears did you notice on this thing? Did you notice the ears?
It was more like a rounded ear, kind of like the hyenas have, almost like a bear in a way.
Okay. Yep.
You know, and then like the coloring, though, the coloring was very distinctly hyena, though. You could even see some of the spots.
No kidding.
So it had like that caramel color to its fur.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I didn't see a tail. Of course, I wasn't looking behind it. You know, I got the front view, so I didn't get to see that. But when it was walking away, when it backed away, it was actually kind of keeping an eye on me. So it had its back facing where it wanted to go, but it had its, body kind of tilted.
Oh, my God.
So I didn't get to see if there was a tail. I'm just like, well.
I'm just trying to imagine myself in your shoes, seeing what you saw. And how, I mean, short of stroking out, I don't know how I would have dealt with that situation. I mean, how do you stay there? Of course, I've had a growling experience myself. I don't know what it was. I always assumed it was a Bigfoot, but it certainly crossed my mind, or people have said maybe it was the Dogman too. But I have no concept of what it was. It was just big and growled. But
and really that roar, I mean, when you feel it in your chest, you know that's not a known animal. That's something different.
Right. Now, would you say that the snout was very hyena-ish too? Because of course, a lot of times we hear the reference of looks like the werewolves from the underworld, and of course they have pretty pronounced muzzles.
Yes,
a lot of times witnesses also say that they have a more stunted muzzle, kind of like the what is it, the short-nosed bears or whatever?
Yeah,
the extinct short-nosed bears. So, was that what you witnessed as well?
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely tell, I'm very familiar with animals. I have hunters in my family. I worked at a zoo at one time. Oh, so I get to see hyenas on almost a daily basis, but the snout was just like so distinctly hyena-like. Even the face and the setting of the eyes and even the long neck.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do you account for that in the reports of these? And I don't want to deviate away from your stories, completely, but I just want to ask you this while it's fresh in my mind because it may never come back. But there is, in a lot of these cryptozoological sightings, there's quite a bit of biodiversity, and of course I attribute some of that to the fact that witnesses, of course, see things differently. They may perceive different traits than others, and what have you, and that can account for it. But a lot of times, again, as I just had suggested in a lot of accounts, when people are seeing these things, they're like, God, it looks like the underworld werewolves. But what you saw was distinctly different than that, and to the point of, even seeing the pattern of fur. Would you say that they are one and the same, or is your idea that maybe there is a series of these beings, or I don't know? It's like all people don't look the same. So, I mean, I kind of give these other categories the same possibility. But what is your take on that, to have such a biodiversity in these reports?
Well, I kind of think that there are different types, but I do agree with you, though, that, like, people look different. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
But, if you look at animals, though, most animals have that distinct feature where they don't stray too far in their genealogy.
Yeah.
So I do think that, there are numerous types of these because people are seeing them. Now, could some people be influenced by what they see in movies? Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. I know people don't like to hear that, but it's true. But no, I do think that there are different types out there, and I think it's maybe regional differences. Mm-hmm. It could be that certain places have certain kinds that are a population there, or maybe just different breeding. Who knows?
Right.
I would love to have all the answers. I really would. I'd love to write that definitive book on Dogman and just be like, yes, I solved it all. But it's probably not going to be me that does it, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but I think it's also pretty incredible, and it speaks a lot to the phenomena that there are variations and such.
Yeah, I mean, Bigfoot has it too.
Yeah,
I mean,
there are the ape
there's
ones.
Bigfoot differences. Why can't there be Dogman differences?
Right, and there's the ones that look very ape-like. There's the ones that look like human, very, very human.
Yep.
There's the ones that look like more of a Neanderthal kind of look.
Yep. Then you get the baboon ones.
Yes. Yep. The Beast of Seven Shoots and such. Yeah, that's pretty well. Some people are calling those Googway. I don't know. I don't pretend to know for sure, but yeah, those stories are out there. So I guess it maybe speaks to the phenomena quite a bit that there is quite a diversity. But the arms on the one that you saw, were they pronouncedly or were they longer than?
Yes, they were a lot longer than the legs.
Okay,
a lot longer. I mean, to the point that when he was even standing up, when he had one arm down on the ground, his knuckles were dragging on the dirt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you could see his knuckles just scraping along the dirt, and you could see his fingertips curled up.
Jeez. Claws? Did you notice claws or anything like that?
I'm sure he had them. I mean, I didn't want to get that close to look, but I'm sure he had them though.
Okay. And one other question that I was curious about, because it just seems like it was such a one-off statement, but had your friend had any activity out there that they went, wait a minute, maybe that's what I've been hearing? Was this or just a one-off event?
Well, honestly, what happened before, though, I never really thought about that a long time back, but I was telling people about this recently. Before I had my encounter about a week before, people were reporting their dogs missing.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
And a lot of these dogs were medium breed dogs, medium-sized dogs. They weren't the small chihuahuas, so we didn't think, hawks or eagles.
Right.
But my first thought was, well, if medium-sized dogs are missing, maybe it's a mountain lion.
Right. Okay.
But after my encounter, and I was calmed down from it, I kind of thought, oh, that's why these dogs are missing. Okay.
So it was in the area doing something.
Yeah.
But it doesn't continue to this day as far as you know?
Actually, it does. I researched the area for, the whole time I was living there for the 2 years. And as Ashley will tell you, I went every day. I went out every single day. I was scouring all the deserts, all the little hills, all the valleys. And what happened one day is I came across this, it was almost like a shrine that was made out of dirt and mud.
Okay.
And on this shrine was a silver platter with all these different kind of exotic fruits. You had kiwis and pineapples. And to me, that was so odd. Why is there a silver platter out in the middle of the desert? What is that? So I got really curious. I left a note and I attached it to a rock saying, what are you feeding here? And I went back a few weeks later and there was a drawing, Brent. Somebody left me a drawing saying, we're feeding these. And they drew a picture of a bipedal hyena.
Really?
Yeah. And at the bottom, they put, be careful, there's more than one.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's something legitimately going on over in that area.
That's crazy. Of course, my assumption would be, well, if it's dog-like or canid-like, it would just be a carnivore, but perhaps they are more of an omnivore, huh?
Well, it crossed my mind that maybe the people that were feeding it were trying to habituate it. They were trying to domesticate it in a way.
Sure.
By giving it fruit, maybe they were showing, hey, you don't have to eat us. You can eat these things. We'll give you good stuff. Just don't eat us. Maybe that's a possibility. I mean, sure. Hyenas, they are omnivorous too.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
And bears are too, yes. So if known animals could be omnivores, well, why can't they? Right. It's possible.
Have you thought to try to make contact with these people, or are you just leaving it at that?
I've tried to make contact, but I don't think they want me to know who they are.
Okay, gotcha.
And there's probably a good reason for it. They probably don't feel that I'm going to be honest with them. I'm probably going to clown on them and tease them, but
right.
I would never do that. I'd tell them, no, I saw the same thing. Show it to me again.
Yeah. Wow. That is incredible. I do have to agree with you as well. Like, I don't think we talked about it since we're on the show, but of course these things in appearance are absolutely horrifying, but it doesn't seem as though they're actually as aggressive as we expect they would. They seem to like to intimidate, but you're right. I mean, if it wanted you dead, you wouldn't have left that moment.
Right. And I say that about a lot of Dogman encounters, though, Brent. You hear all these encounters, how this Dogman was terrifying. It was snarling. It was foaming at the mouth. And it's like, but here you are to tell the story.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe they see us as the intruders. Maybe they're where we see them, that's their turf. And when we enter, they're going, hey, this is my home. Why are you here? I'm going to scare you off.
Right.
That's animal behavior.
Yeah, of course, territorial.
If you've ever been up in the mountains, you run across a mountain lion or even a bear, they don't want you there.
Right.
They're going to posture. They're going to be loud. They're going to make noises to drive you off. So, maybe it's something similar with the Dogman.
Yeah, good point. Good point. But it also seems to denote intelligence, though, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because it would be easy for them, I think, to just dispatch whoever came into their area, but they don't.
Yeah, I think that they feel that they, if they kill one human, more humans are going to come in, and they see us with guns, and they know, well, those guns are bad. If we hurt one human, they're coming in with a lot of those guns, and that's not good. So I think they're trying to protect themselves. I don't think it's about protecting us.
Right.
I think they're watching out for themselves and their turf, and they know, don't kill a human because then more are going to come.
Yeah. Yeah. There's swaths of them will be coming. The other thing I wanted to ask you about too, and I'm sorry that I'm kind of hopscotching around. It's just how my brain works this way. But, through the years, I've of course heard that there tends to be quite a bit of sightings of dogmen along the border to Mexico. Is that something you've picked up on as well?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I've heard stories how, like, if you go to a certain part of the border, that you won't come across the other end because there's a dogman waiting for you. I forgot the name they use because it's a Spanish name, but they do tell you don't go out there because they're waiting out there for you.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh
yeah. It gets really scary when you start doing the physical research for this and you start talking to different people, and it's nightmare fuel sometimes.
Yeah, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And have you heard the tales also of them being shot and not seeming to have much effect?
Oh yeah, I hear that plenty of times.
Okay.
Where people will say it seems like the bullet went right through it, or they tell you, no, I saw the bullet hit it, it just didn't phase it.
Right.
And I have to wonder if they are interdimensional. I kind of believe that maybe their vibration is higher than ours, and maybe it's so high that the bullet does pass right through it.
Sure.
Just it doesn't feel it. It doesn't register because it's passing right through it. So there's no blood, no wound.
Very interesting, Kyle. That again, there is histories for similar things around the globe, the cynocephaly,
right?
Of course, with those legendary dog warriors over in the old world. But do you think that those are somehow tied into this, or is this something else entirely, in your opinion?
Well, I think Anubis is tied into this. I really do feel that Anubis has a stronger tie. You do hear about the dog soldiers, but that's kind of lost in translation.
Okay.
The dog soldiers were a native thing. And the reason why they called them the dog soldiers is because they wore the pelts of the wolf.
Oh, sure.
And they were very determined to win their battles. So they called them dogs, dog soldiers.
Okay.
But I do feel that, Anubis is indicative that something was in Egypt at the time. I really do.
Okay. Yeah. So that's somehow tied into this whole mythos, if you will. And I don't mean that in a dismissive way, but of course, just the unverified reports or ideas of these things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was speaking about. Have you heard of the cynocephaly?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, because they were not in the Americas, but they were in the old countries over.
Right, and you have Saint Christopher,
Right, the dog-headed saint.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's something to that too. I know a lot of people will tell you, oh, if it's in the Bible, you can't take it literal. But why would they call him a dog-headed saint if he didn't have a dog head? I mean, that seems like a really big insult to drop on a saint, doesn't it?
Sure, and even the depictions, the artistic depictions of him. I mean, there's both. There's the more human-like depictions, and then there's the ones where he looks like a beagle head or something, or a lab, and it makes you wonder. But I wonder if they're something else entirely. And I asked that question to Vic Cundiff as well, and he seemed to think that they were maybe something else entirely, or some old race that maybe died off, and these are not one and the same. But I don't expect anybody to actually know. It's just, what do you think? What is your ideas on this? Because I guess the hard part of any of these phenomena is just trying to reassemble it and give it, give it meaning. Because
it's hard for us because we're basically trying to do a puzzle that's been scattered all over the place and turned upside down.
Right. Yeah.
And they took away the finished picture, so we don't know what the finished product looks like.
Right.
So we have to do it together, piece by piece by piece by piece, but we all have to come together as a community to do that.
Mm. Yeah, and there's always those issues as well, which makes it tough. Just the whole communities that in themselves can be problematic towards any common end, because there's a lot of personalities involved, and that can be tough. But
ego gets involved, and it goes to hell.
Yeah, exactly. Have you traveled around looking into this, or are you mostly sticking regionally?
Mostly sticking to Arizona for now. I would like to start traveling to different states.
Uh-huh.
But, I figure, hey, I had my encounter here in Arizona. People are talking about them here in Arizona. Yeah. When we travel abroad right now, just look here and see what answers I can find.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's I do paranormal investigating, but sometimes on the live YouTube shows, I'll set up the gear here. And yet, so it makes me think, and sometimes the activity I get in the studio is more profound than what I get in haunted locations. Right. And it's like, well, why exactly am I going out there doing this?
Yeah. Wasting time and money. We can just sit right here and do your thing.
Yeah, exactly. And, I guess there is merit to investigating near where you live, because I think to truly investigate it, you have to give any location quite a bit of time, because I don't think, this phenomena is certainly not on demand, or any of it for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell everybody, that I've had plenty of fruitless investigations, okay? I've gone out plenty of days and nights where I come back, absolutely nothing. No sightings, no vocals, nothing but a walk around the desert. Mm-hmm. But you got to keep at it and keep going back and keep going back. And you meet people, too, when you're going on these investigations. As weird as it sounds, you come across hikers and other people that you try asking questions to, and sometimes they'll surprise you and say, oh, yeah, I saw this. And you're like, oh,
nice. That is good. Yeah, I was going to ask you how hard is it to investigate, because for that very reason, I think it's more of a maybe more of a result of our modern era, where we're able to talk about these things more, but people are talking more than ever before. But have you found that there's still quite a lot of people that really don't want to say?
It used to be difficult. Okay. Years ago, it was just like, oh, you're looking for Bigfoot? Ha, ha, ha. They laugh at you,
Right.
But now that it's becoming more mainstream, more popular, when I ask people, hey, have you seen anything weird? They'll open up and they'll start telling me about all these weird events or strange sightings they've had. And they do it like we're old friends. Like, we didn't just meet. We've known each other for years. So it's pretty exciting.
Do you do the conventions and stuff where you're able to, go around and meet other people?
Not yet. I have spoken via virtual lectures at some conferences.
Oh, cool.
And I plan on doing some more in the future, but I haven't been able to physically attend yet.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think that's a great opportunity as well, of course, to make connections. But in your observation as a person that's been looking into this phenomena for quite some time and given a lot of your own blood, sweat, and tears to it, what is going on in your, how do I ask this the best? I gotta phrase this right, because I'm not trying to put you in a bad place or put down anybody else, because I think everybody looking into the phenomena, I think, is doing it for their own reasons and for probably their right reasons. They just want answers.
Right.
But have you noticed that there's an unfinished stew of ideas with this phenomenon, and that people are throwing in ideas at a reckless pace and
Oh, absolutely. 100%. That's something I speak out about very, very often on my social media, as you're familiar with, Brett. Like when people started throwing in the whole, oh, they're Nephilim, or, oh, they're demons, you're trying to answer one mystery with another. And that is the worst mistake you can make, because you can't prove one mystery. How can you answer it with another mystery that you can't prove?
Right.
So if Dogman or Nephilim, okay, but what's the proof? I mean, what do you have to show that they came from Nephilim DNA? Or if they're demons, again, what's your proof to show that they're demonic?
Yeah.
Is it just your opinion? Because if it's your opinion, it doesn't make it fact. Opinion is not fact. So we have to stop throwing all these ideas to create like this jello. We can't do that. We have to look at one thing, examine that thoroughly. If we don't find the answers there, entertain other ideas. Don't abandon any ideas, just entertain them, but look thoroughly into them. Dive as deep as you can and see what you can do to prove that idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's indicative of all of this stuff. Bigfoot's, name the phenomenon. There's the ideas. I mean, the aliens are Nephilim, and I'm not casting aspersions at anyone. So please, those of you
I kind of laugh at the whole the aliens are Nephilim, because I quote Captain Kirk, what does God need with a starship?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, Kirk kind of had it nailed down. But there are so many incredible takes on this stuff, and I realize that there's no wrong answers, because we really don't know what we're dealing with. But at the same time, I think you're right. Answering one mystery with another mystery isn't really an answer at all. It's just
because then it leads to a downward spiral. We're answering one mystery with another, then we're putting another mystery into it, then another one, then another one, then another one.
Yeah,
and we're creating more questions than answers.
Yeah,
and that's counterproductive.
It really is. Yeah, I think that's very well said, and I appreciate your take on that. And I think that's what that approach is what really drew me to your posts and to keep paying attention, was because you just have a real down-to-earth, measured response. Like, look, here's what we do know, here's what we don't know, and
right.
Conflating it with all these other things doesn't bring us any closer to the answers.
Right. It's hard to stay grounded. I know it's very hard to stay grounded in this field, but you do have to find a way.
Yeah.
If you don't anchor yourself, you're going to entertain every flight of fancy that there is, and before you know it, your own way of thinking is so jumbled up you can't think anymore. So I try to stay on the short and narrow. I just try to stay on my path and work with what I know. Yeah.
So with your work, what is your vision moving forward with this? How do you keep moving the ball on this whole approach?
I just keep doing my thing. I don't lose faith in my work, and I really hope to one day have some really good books put out for people, because I want to teach people. I'm not looking for money. I'm not looking for fame. I'm hoping that I can take my research and impart it on other people, and then it can get kind of pushed forward and other people can continue on with my research as well. That's my ultimate goal.
And what would you say to somebody that was looking at getting into research, and what pearls of wisdom could you give them in their quest to find the answers as well?
I would tell them not to use the internet, because, we have creepypastas.
Yeah.
So that can kind of be a downfall for you, but talk to the people. Okay. Talk to as many witnesses as you can, as many experiencers as you can. Keep an open mind, but not so open that your brains leak out.
Yeah.
Learn to analyze every single story that you hear. Learn to watch the facial expressions, to listen to the tone of voice when you're talking to experiencers. Try to derive, how can I tell if they're telling the truth? Come up with your own formulas to do that.
Yeah, that's perfect. I also wanted to visit a little bit about the Land Between the Lakes story.
Mm-hmm.
What is your take on that?
I believe there's something to it. I believe that Dogmen are over there.
Okay.
I have a very hard time buying into the whole massacre, because it was briefly mentioned by Jan Thompson, and that was years ago, and yet here we are. It's become this whole big horror movie in itself. So I haven't seen any solid evidence to say it definitely did happen.
Okay.
But if there's anybody out there that can show me that solid evidence to change my mind, I want you to change my mind. Show me that evidence where I can go, oh, okay, it really did happen. All right, I believe it now.
Yeah, you'd think there would have to be some sort of corroborating.
You would think. I mean, we had that one quote unquote survivor come forward, but we know how people feel about that one.
Actually, I'm not even familiar with that, to be honest with you.
Oh, you're not? Oh, Brent, you got a lot of looking into for this one. Yeah, he claimed he survived the whole LBL massacre, but it's created some division. There's people that say he's telling the truth. There's people that say he's lying. I'm kind of in the middle going, well, unless you have proof, I can't just believe a fantastic story like this.
Right.
Fantastic claims require fantastic evidence. So,
yeah.
And if there's no evidence, well, there's a problem.
Right. So I guess we get to the ultimate question, which kind of ties in with the LBL, because there's this whole cover up part of it where it seems like some great efforts were made to scrub that event right off the map, like it never happened, which we've alluded to. But does the government know?
I think they do. I think the government knows that there are cryptids out there.
Sure.
I think they take an interest in some of them, but not to the extent where, Men in Black are going to be visiting us, because I've never had a visit from the MIB. I think they research them just to know what these things are. They want to know what they're capable of. I don't think they genetically try to tamper with them. I don't believe that.
Okay.
So I think they are aware. I do. And I think in certain instances, yeah, they might protect them because, what if they're a dying species?
Right.
Maybe they're worried we're going to kill them off. And as the government should, they're going to step in and go, oh, no, you're not going to mess with these things.
Right.
So that's my take. I know it's not a very popular take, but hey, I said what I said.
Well, and I appreciate that, because I've wondered about that a lot myself. And I know there's some pretty solid camps about, no, this is well known, and they're actively covering it up. And I keep thinking, well, why? And what is, how does that behoove anyone? And I have a few wild theories. They're not.
Oh yeah.
But I just, it's really X-Files kind of thinking. And so off the air, I'll tell you, but I don't really subscribe to it myself. But I'm just putting, in a thought experiment, like, why would they? What benefit could there be? And
something, Brent, that a lot of people don't talk about is how Theodore Roosevelt, he actually set aside land because he believed in the Ozark Howler.
Oh.
And so some of the national parks, they were designated by Roosevelt to have the Ozark Howler habitated. He was doing it to protect this creature that he had seen. So,
I didn't know that.
That's kind of something to consider in a way. Are they doing it to protect the people, or to protect the cryptids, or to protect the lumber industry?
Sure.
There's different things to look into here.
Yeah, no, I exactly. And that's the weird part, because if it was something that was being actively suppressed and covered up, and actual like huge construction efforts on the tail end of some of these things to redo the whole landscape so that there's no evidence. I can't imagine the amount of funding and legwork that would need to be done and undertaken in order to have that kind of rapid response. And
it would cost them a lot more money than people think.
Right. Yeah.
And would it be worth their efforts? Probably not.
Right. And the other part, I think, is like, I don't think anybody begrudges the idea that, look, if you're going to be in the wild places, people have a right to know, and, that there may be these things out there. Not that they're always dangerous, but that they're there. Because there are missing people. There are things that happen in these wild places.
Absolutely.
Where we don't really know what's going on. And it doesn't seem like there's any active efforts to figure it out outside of, like David Paulides and a handful of other people.
Right.
So it does make you wonder why, if they had full knowledge of it, why wouldn't they say, hey, look, there's some weirdness out here. We don't know what it is, but you deserve to know before you go camping with the kids.
Right. It could be because, they know that humans in the whole, as general, we're a very panicky lot. Something changes our way of life and we don't like it. We get into an uproar, and that could be one reason why they don't say much. But
yeah. And I've thought about that too. But here's, that excuse, or I don't mean to say excuse in a dismissive way, but that line of thinking was used in the UFO thing. Like, so that's why they don't tell, because people are panicky and stuff. And I think that's certainly can be the case, but I just look at like the Tic Tac craft and the soft disclosure, and that was really a huge moment, but it kind of just fell under the radar in a lot of ways. Like most
Yeah.
Most people just thought it was a Tuesday, you know?
Right.
Oh, there's actually aliens. Go figure. What's for dinner? You know?
That's what it was like.
It really was. It was like,
Yeah.
wait, where's the panicky crowds and people running to the hills and, wearing tinfoil? But
Yeah.
it just didn't happen. And I think that speaks a lot to, to the spirit of people. Like,
Yeah.
look, a lot of people are already asking the questions. And the amount of people that are at least entertaining these ideas, I definitely think is on the rise.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And so I think it's people are more agile and adept at, I guess just rolling with the punches.
Yeah, it's come a long way. It really has. I mean, years ago, people were embarrassed to talk about UFOs and Bigfoot. And now it's the thing to do. Everybody's doing it. And I'm quite proud of the people that do that. I really am, because it's like, yeah, man, ask about this stuff. Talk about it. It should be talked about.
Yeah. Well, you're one of those people. I mean, you're out there raising awareness and having the discussions. And I really appreciate that you're bringing, at least a well-rounded, logical approach to it. Because I think a lot of it is just slowing down and really looking at the evidence and rather than running right to a conclusion, It
is. Yeah, that's why I always tell people, when you go out there, know the environment, know the wildlife, know what sounds the wildlife makes, know the footprints that they make. Because if you don't, everything's be Bigfoot or Dogman. So you got to know the animals out there.
Right. No, that's a good.
It helps. It does. It really does help.
Well, how many screaming, bobcats have been Dogman or Bigfoot,
Right. Or coyotes or, even elk.
Yeah.
The elk bugling, people are like, oh, it's a Bigfoot meeting call. And it's just, no, that's an elk.
Yeah. Or a fox screams, because what the fox says, it ain't pretty, but they say it.
Yeah. I mean, I will deny that, some animals do sound terrifying. And if you hear them at night, it's like, oh, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
They're not always Dogman or Bigfoot. So.
Right. Yeah. I think it was one of those videos that I saw a long time ago, but it shows two bobcats in the road. And they're like going at each other, just yelling like, "Wah."
Yeah.
And the sounds are absolutely terrifying. Hell, my house cat will get into arguments with some stray around here, and it sends shivers up my spine. But it's just this little, fluffy Pikachu, But he can sound,
Pikachu.
That's his name. He could sound like he was crawling right out of the bowels of hell. It's like,
wow,
God, where did that come from? But
I don't want to hear that at night. No, boy,
no. And that's the thing. I mean, animals can make a surprising number of sounds.
Yeah, I've heard bobcats at night, and the first time I heard it, I was ready to just drop everything I was doing and make a beeline for home. I was like, yep, I don't know what that is. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
But, I found out, it's a bobcat. Oh, okay.
Which is comforting. But yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. I think that you really have to understand first the base of where you are and what you're addressing, because
absolutely.
If you don't understand the known stuff, then how are you going to differentiate the unknowns?
Correct. 100% correct. That's what I'm always saying to people on social media. I get flack for that.
But it's great advice. I mean, it really is. And that's, again, what I've really respected about what you're doing, because, a lot of people, and I actually find myself being guilty of this as well, is that, I don't jump into a lot of online discussions just because, I don't like to inject myself into the discussion as much because, I'm a host. I like to hear everybody's ideas, but I do respect those people that are like, wait a minute, like yourself, that go, hey, let's look at this objectively, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And it's like, oh, thank God someone's, putting
that's needed. That's very much needed.
It really is. And you're doing a hell of a job at it. So,
well, thank you.
That's kind of what led us to this path, because, just having the discussions and again, so you're looking at writing books.
Yes.
Good. I think
yes. I want to write a Dogman book, and I want to write a Wendigo and the Skinwalker book as well. Because I want to get the real lore behind the Wendigo and Skinwalkers out there.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You've looked into that for a while. What resources are you utilizing to? And I don't mean to ask for your trade secrets or whatever, but getting some of the First Nations histories and legends and stuff can be tricky.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I thought I was going to be in a lot of trouble because I went to a reservation here in Arizona. Because what happened is I noticed, Brent, that we had Dogman researchers, we had Bigfoot researchers, we even have Mothman researchers.
Okay.
But what we don't have is Yinaradushi researchers, the Skinwalker researchers. So it was in my head, that I am going to be the one to do this. I'm going to bring out some of the actual lore, and I'm going to put it out there for people to know, so it's not mistranslated, so it's not used in stupid ways. So I decided I'm going to go to a Navajo reservation. So a friend of mine and I went. I walked right on there, Brent. I just walk into the middle of this crowd, and I'm like, okay, who's going to tell me about skinwalkers? And the looks that I got, I was like, I am going to die. I thought they were going to kill me, but I had this old couple come up to me, and they asked me, why do you want to know? And I told them, look, because, where I'm working at, where I'm doing my shows and where I do my research, nobody takes your word and shows it as it really is. So I want to be the person that can take your lore and correct all these mistakes that show people, no, this is what they really are. And because of that, they agreed, then we'll tell you.
Oh,
so they sat and they talked with me for hours. And they told me all this different stuff about the Yinaralushi, the mistranslations that people have of them. And they wanted me to keep coming back. So I kept going back to them, learning more and more and more. And then I made a friend, William Nighthawk. He's Lakota, and he's more like my brother. He came to me as well, and he was telling me about his people's view on the skinwalkers.
Oh, fantastic.
So it opened a whole new world to me. It was like, wow, this is amazing, So
yeah,
I want to bring those stories to the people. I really do.
Well, and it's a fantastic opportunity because, of course, for a lot of us that live here in the States, we've only got, a handful of generations.
Yeah.
These are people that have lived in concert with the land and the nature around them for thousands of years. And and to just ignore or dismiss or discard those wisdoms and those insights, I think is just surprising. Why wouldn't you want to pay attention to that?
It's heartbreaking to see, because you see all these posts on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram talking about the skinwalker or the Wendigo. Really, none of them are accurate. None of them are correct. And I didn't get, how could we ignore what these people were saying? Why are we saying our own stuff? We should be asking them and putting their beliefs out there, putting them accurately out there.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. Wonderful. Well, I definitely know we're going to have at least a couple more discussions, but of course, you're welcome to come back whenever you want. I love diving into this stuff, and I love to hear your take. And of course, could you take a few minutes to let people know how to stay in touch with you and what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Facebook under Ryan Paul Tremblay with a little quotation, Rhino. That's my nickname.
Oh.
You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram. You can catch me on Monster Radio on YouTube. And I encourage people to reach out to me if you want to message me and talk. I love conversation. I love interacting. So if you ever want to just shoot the crap, just hit me up and we will talk for hours. I will fill your ears with all kinds of random trivia that you'll never use, but we'll have fun doing it.
Absolutely. But brother, it's been a pleasure to actually talk with you. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a great journey, and I appreciate you taking the time.
It's my pleasure, Brent. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I'm glad we finally did it, man.
All right, brother. Well, take care of yourself, and thanks again.
All right.
All right, everybody, that's going to wrap it up for us today. So hope you guys enjoyed the show, and thank you again so much for all your love and support. Remember, if you want to follow the Paranormal Portal, probably the easiest way is to head over to paranormalportal.net, and that's the homepage for the Paranormal Portal, and you'll find links to all of our different social media and sites and information about the shows, including our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/paranormal portal, or just look for Paranormal Portal on Google or whatever search engine, and you'll find links to our social media such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. So we're kind of all over the place, and we're spreading as well as we can. But anyway, thank you so much for the love and support. Y'all take care, and remember, we love y'all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other, help each other out, find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Until next time.
Well, the only time she really turned with that famous was when I rode across the creek and got down off the horse. She turned to look at me.